That means one thing, John Allen. What does it mean? It means
Habemus Papam, Chris.
Habemus
We have a
Papam.
pope.
We have
Let's
a
listen
pope.
in.
Look at that picture. Look at how many people.
I announce to you a great joy. We have a pope.
We believe that the name they said was Bergoglio. Cardinal Jorge Mario Bergoglio. He is
Pope Francis is Time Magazine's Person of the Year. He was the first pope from the New World. The New World.
Time magazine have named Pope Francis as their Person of the Year. The publication has credited him with
the first Jesuit pope, the first pope from the New World, the New World. In one interview, he made it clear he didn't want the church to be, in his words, obsessed with small-minded rules that have led to so-called culture wars over abortion, gay marriage, and contraception.
Pope Francis is having a pretty good year, wouldn't you say? First, he was named Time Magazine's Person of the Year.
Well, now The Advocate, the country's largest gay and lesbian publication, has named the pontiff its Person of the Year, signaling what could be a shift between the gay community and the Catholic faith.
Suzanne Kennedy here now with more on that. Suzanne?
Well, Leon and Allison, a decade ago, you probably wouldn't have seen this happen, but today's Pope is very different than his predecessors. After being named Time Magazine's Man of the Year, the country's oldest gay rights magazine, The Advocate, is now following suit. On a flight last year from Brazil to Rome, the Pope offered a glimpse into his viewpoints on homosexuality, saying, "If someone is gay and seeks the Lord with goodwill, who am I to judge?" The Advocate article says the Pope offers LGBT Catholics who remain in the church more reason to hope that change is coming. That change is coming.
I think it's a great thing. As a Catholic and as a gay man, it's perfect.
Our journey is not complete until our gay brothers and sisters are treated like anyone else under the law. For if we are truly created equal, then surely the love we commit to one another must be equal as well.
Now appears Pope Francis is open to the theories of evolution and the Big Bang. He told a Vatican audience that neither idea conflicts with the idea of creation. He also said, quote, "God is not a magician with a magic wand."
In a direct contradiction of the beliefs of creationists, Francis said that when we read about creation in Genesis, the first book of the Bible, we run the risk of imagining God was a magician with a magic wand able to do everything. But that is not so. The Big Bang does not contradict the creative intervention of God, the Pope said. On the contrary, it requires it.
He said we need to recognize that the Big Bang and evolution are real things.
Good news for all you atheists out there. Jesus is still going to redeem you. During his homily at Wednesday Mass, Pope Francis emphasized the importance of doing good as a...
He thinks that even if you're an atheist, you might get into heaven. And obviously Pope Francis is using it to say, hey, listen, don't worry so much about, is he one of us? Is he a Catholic? Are they following the right dogma? If they do good works, they can get into heaven even if they're not a Catholic.
Pope Francis is now saying you don't have to be a believer. You don't have to believe in God in order to get to heaven. And they are saying allegedly that he's reaching out to atheists and agnostics. And the Pope has struck, I'm reading now from the article that says, the Pope has struck a surprisingly conciliatory tone towards atheists and agnostics, saying that God will forgive them as long as they behave morally and live according to their conscience. What a blasphemous statement. That is blasphemy, Pope Francis.
What, based on the prophecies out of the Vatican that were hidden for all these generations, are they anticipating with the final Pope?
Well, the idea among both Catholics and Protestant scholars is that he will be the final Pope. He is the one who is going to be residing over the Vatican as it enters into the Great Tribulation period, and there's also the belief among even some of the Catholic mystics that he might be a false Pope, an anti-Pope, somebody who helps give rise to the Antichrist.
I want to share with you guys here statements that show 100% that Pope Francis is not a holy man whatsoever. And what he states should leave every one of you out there that ever thought he was a holy man knowing better. He is saying that a personal relationship with Jesus is dangerous, and that you cannot seek Jesus alone, that you have to do it through mediation with the church. He goes on to state that you cannot do it. There's no such thing as a do-it-yourself Christian or a free agent. Can you believe it? This man's saying this. This man is anti-Christ, against the Christ. He is all about the satanic synagogue that they have created, full of pedophiles and whatnot. This is proof when this man speaks this blasphemy.
He encouraged people to see Jesus as a man who still prays for us. The Pope explained that through his wounds,
e prega. Ma Gesù è uno spirito. Gesù non è uno spirito.
Tell me, he didn't just say that.
Gesù è una persona, è un uomo. Una persona, è un uomo.
Did Pope Francis perform a miracle in Naples? Well, some claim it's more like a half miracle. On Saturday, March 21st, the pontiff was in Naples, and an unusual thing happened. When the Pope kissed a sealed glass ampule of St. Gennaro's blood, it reportedly liquefied. Cardinal Crescenzo Sepe, the Archbishop of Naples, said, quote, "It is the sign that St. Gennaro loves Pope Francis. Half of the blood turned to liquid."
So the new Pope, he's definitely a rock star. He's been on the cover of the Rolling Stone. It's Pope Francis I'm talking about here. And he was also on the cover of The Advocate, which is a gay magazine, so they're big fans of him as well. And he's already done a lot of really controversial things. One of the biggest things he put out there is he said that atheists are going to go to heaven. The atheists will see God. So, essentially there's really no reason to believe in God. Guys, this really shouldn't come as any surprise. We know the Catholic Church has been being exposed for a long time now, in a lot of ways with all the kid rape, and that's really getting out there.
Now, if you go to the itccs.org site, you'll see over the last number of weeks some tremendous things have been happening. First of all, in Brussels, on April 7th, the Second Common Law Court of Justice session convened. The first one, if you recall, the one that convicted Joseph Ratzinger and Queen Elizabeth for crimes against humanity in Canada, the genocide of Indigenous people there. That led into the second case having to do with global child trafficking. The chief defendants being Jorge Bergoglio, President Pope Francis, Adolfo Pachon, the head of the Jesuits, and Justin Welby, the Archbishop of Canterbury in England. I've been working in Europe, in Holland, in France, and in Spain with the witnesses in this case of global child trafficking. Things I've been hearing just completely blew my mind. These eyewitnesses, for example, who sat in on meetings with Jorge Bergoglio planning the child trafficking of political prisoners, the children of those prisoners in Argentina during the dirty wars. Two women who witnessed the serial rape and torture of children by former Pope Benedict and Jorge Bergoglio themselves. According to this thing called the Ninth Circle, which is apparently a child sacrificial cult operating within the Vatican and has for several centuries. And other information related to how this global child trafficking is continuing very much through the Catholic Church and its various agencies. And so it's been not only an amazing time for this stuff to come out, but in response, we've had an increasing number of people come forward. Here in Spain, I've been meeting with two different groups who have been leading a campaign here on behalf of the over 300,000 people who as children were trafficked by the Catholic Church here in Spain, where literally the children were stolen by priests and nuns. Their parents were told they had died, and then they were trafficked for between $60,000 and $80,000 each. We estimate the Vatican made over $20 billion over the last 50 years here in Spain alone through this illegal child trafficking. According to not just eyewitnesses who were at these ritual cult murders of children who saw Bergoglio there, but basically this magisterial privilege, according to the documents, is that every pope is being expected as part of his initiation, to be engaged in these child sacrificial cults, which involve the ritual slaying of newborn children or young children and drinking of their blood, because it invokes a certain spiritual power and control over the human race to do this, according to their sick thinking. And this is something that Bergoglio himself was involved in, according to these two women who witnessed it.
But this new pope activating and saying we need global government for, you know, the carbon taxes. I mean, I don't know what they got on him or what's going on, but that's got to be decried. People are really showing which side they're on right now. This is the big move. And, I mean, there's the headline. Pope Francis calls for new system of global government to tackle climate change. That's not an Infowars.com headline. That's in Time Magazine, Newsweek, the BBC.
Times we're seeing that the world political leader and the world religious leader are leading the world into a unification through the climate change agenda. And this is exactly what the prophecy says, that the Antichrist and the false prophet will be working together. We see that in Revelation chapter 19, verse 20. It says Pope Francis boosts Obama, Clinton, Kerry, and Gore on climate change. June 18, 2015. The papal encyclical released today offers powerful validation and support to the lifetime body of work to protect the environment and combat the dangers of global warming from leading Democrats such as President Barack Obama.
Undoubtedly, they broke with all of Catholic history when they put a Jesuit in 2 years ago. That's against canon law. You can't have the Jesuits, who are the police of the Catholic Church, ever becoming a pope, because they would use it as a coup d'etat. Just like Caesar couldn't bring his troops into Rome because obviously he would make himself a dictator. It's very simple. It's why we have posse comitatus. So these are facts you can't deny. That A, he's a Jesuit, the new pope. The answer, a world government to it, with the new pope now calling for a one world religion to bring everyone together. I mean, either the Bible's coming true, Revelations and Daniel and all the rest of it, and Ezekiel, and what Christ said, or they're using it as a playbook to set up a planetary tyranny. 3 global regions, 10 sub-regions, the 10 kings. This is over the top. And this new pope is the most naked manipulator I've ever seen. He makes Obama look tame with his deception. People are ready to wake up right now, so spread the word that the good news is this evil has never succeeded before, and it will fall this time, and that this pope, for all intents and purposes, fits the bill of the false prophet of Revelations.
To you, but if this ain't disturbing, I don't know what is. This is supposed to be Jesus, and I use the word supposed to be. And these people sit around this thing like an idol. And this is a close-up picture of Jesus right here. It's supposed to be Jesus. And I went and looked at it closer. And I don't know about y'all, but this looks like a reptilian head. I mean, look, you got the eyes, and then you got the mouth, and, you know, here the brain, the skull. But this is a close-up picture. Looks like a straight-up reptilian Jesus, and this, I mean, what is this? And going back, this looks like skulls and demons and stuff coming out from the pits of hell. And this is what they sit around.
Flamma seius, Lucifer matutinus inveniat. Ille in quam Lucifer qui nescito casum, Christus filius tuus, qui regressus ab inferis, humano generis serenus iluxit, et tecum vivit et regnat in saecula saeculorum.
Nature unfolded in a surprising way at the Vatican Sunday. Just after Pope Francis spoke in St. Peter's Square, children released 2 white doves as a symbol of peace. The peace didn't last long. A black crow and a seagull went after the doves in front of the crowd. The birds managed to escape after only losing a few feathers.
It's so unusual.
It is.
It's very unusual.